Okay, so the good Tory Lanez has been very hidden for a while because if he's dealing with a case that he's publicly never spoken about. So this is the first time we've got Tory Lanez talking publicly about situations he had with artists directly. And I learned an interesting fact from this this song that he wrote about. And I think I need to explain what it is, but I think I need to explain Tory Lanez. Tory Lanez is a Canadian artist. He raps, he sings, he does many different things. But in this song, he made a song, and it's called Musky James. I believe that's what the song is called. I have no idea why he named it that. But we're gonna take a deep dive in this song and just talk about situations that he talked about in the song, which I think was unknown previously. So we're gonna talk about this and what Tory Lanez had to say about these certain situations. But I do want to put a disclaimer that Tory Lanez says this is not to start any beef. This is, I guess, him just speaking his mind, right? So we're gonna talk about this in greater detail. Real quick, let's check to see if we have any responses. Okay, so people are asking, what do you mean when you say hidden? Like Tory Lanez has been talking about certain situations, we just have never heard him publicly say anything about it, which I think is truly amazing that he's keeping everything private and we don't see him running to social media about handling situations, even though I believe he has a gag order, so he cannot talk. Okay, so let me explain what a gag order is before we get into this thing, so I can explain it legally. Legally, what a gag order is where a person cannot go on social media or say anything in their songs because he is an artist. He cannot say anything about the case or anything happening, right? So this is weird. So allegedly, a couple days before this was released, Tory Lanez got picked up for something that happened at Rolling Loud, where he was too close to the person, another artist, where he shouldn't have been, and I think it was either 100 or 1,000 feet. He broke that being a guest to somebody's show. So that arrest comes in, or that detainment comes in, and we hear this song drop. Snippets of the song drop around Instagram, Twitter. This sound gets away where he talks about Meek Mill and them having a fallout. But there are a few things I want to cover before we get there. So first thing, I will not be talking about the situation. I will be calling it X Tony Lanez versus X artist when I be covering that situation. So we're gonna talk about it. Tory Lanez recently this year got out of his contract. He is now an independent artist. So as he thinks is he got blackballed the last couple months he was in his contract. And he's also being blackballed because nobody from any record label or studio will collab with him. Is what I'm saying. What I assume he means by it seems like they're trying to blackball. It seems like they're trying to blackball me. I think he's talking about the labels, but he doesn't say who he's talking about. But there was this incident on another song he talked about on an album. He said that the labels have already paid their money, so they just wasted a verse. And I think that's him tweeting and saying that the label was okay with it, but a few artists weren't, and that he does, and he just tells me right off the back he's not trying to start any beef, but what he did to him was wrong, and every time he tried to bring it up, he tried to avoid a situation. We've had these same situations happen in rap for years. 4 years about certain situations, and people go public and they sound crazy. Which this is ironic to me because he said that line, and I've heard that line in interviews with J. Cole, with Jay-Z, with Kanye, and they've said the same thing. That I tried to reach out to the person, but they weren't trying to hear what I had to say. Now that if I go public, I sound like the crazy guy. So I think that's where this line came in, and that's the background of that line saying, he don't want to talk to me, and people were saying, why did he go to social media? And that's why, because it's worked before in the past. So I think that's great. but he says he believes he's been blackballed, which could be true. Black people have been blackballed in different ways. So him not being able to push music out there to platforms probably didn't mess with his income in the way that he was making it. He also talks about cancel culture and that it doesn't work, right? And so this is the thing. And he says it doesn't exist, or it does. He says it doesn't exist. I'm gonna say it doesn't work, and he said it doesn't work, but I he says it because he says I'm still making millions, so it doesn't work, right? And so this is my problem with that cancel culture situation. I believe we can teach somebody how to grow and learn from it without trying to cancel them completely, right? Of whatever they did. There usually was those saying, can you split somebody from their music from what they did? And for some cases, you can. Like, you should be able to. I shouldn't say you should be able to, but it's commonly done, right? It's commonly been done, or there's stuff that they do. Can you put it away from what they have done, right? And for some cases, you can. Tory Lanez situation still being resolved. Can't talk about that, but it's a weird thing. I think he realizes it that if I can't put anything out, it seems weird. But it's also he hasn't been booked for like Rolling Loud, Coachella. He has not been booked for any shows, um, because of that. They everyone ran the next 2 days and said that he was guilty without the case. The case is still going on, so you can't really give your opinions because the case is closed. I believe the case is sealed. I think you can't find it unless you're in that courtroom or know anything about it. Unless you're in that courtroom, and then you can't publicly talk about it. So that's what I'm saying. It's hard for me to say that because they're artists, so they're gonna at some point cross paths. But I also think you can learn from without canceling somebody or separate their music or separate their art are from what they done. I think that's how we remember them in the best light. Is how you should do it. Which is weird. And he says he hates how him and Kaylani ended it. Now I didn't know her name was Kaylani. I was saying something. I forgot what I was saying, but I was not saying Kaylani. And he said Kaylani. He hated how him and Kaylani ended. I had no idea that was her actual name. Um, her artist name, I had no idea was that her name, and I'm sorry for that because clearly I didn't want to mess up an artist's name, but I didn't know it was that. So her her name is apparently expressed Kaylani, and but he talks about this McMill thing, and I think this McMill confrontation or argument can be about three different things. I think it's either when the media ran and said that Tory Lane was guilty without no case, or this could be the rumor that they were trying to sign an artist at the same time, and I think somebody got the artist or snuck the artist before the other one could sign. So I think that's what that is. Not necessarily sure. Some people are saying that is McMill being with Kaylani, but I'm not sure. I think the last person Kaylani's ever dated is uh, LMA. I believe that's the last person she ever dated. If we're talking about the same person, if we're not, I'm sorry in advance. But that's what he really talks about in the song. It's not a very deep song, but he talks about what he thinks he should talk about, and he feels justified. And I can't argue and say he's not justified. He's justified in feeling the way that he feels about situations in which he could not defend himself, but he also cannot talk about it. So this is his way of not talking about it. Um, this is his way of not talking about it, but talking about it, which is weird. I do think him saying he owes somebody 20 mils, but he thought about shipping them a Rolls Royce. Now I'm a huge Rolls Royce fan. I think their Phantoms, their their newer electric car, I think those are great ideas. But he named the is it called a C. Anyway, the car name starts with a C, and he said he was going to ship one of them over. He says he owes him like $20 million. I think it's crazy to owe anybody $20 million. That's just me. And then he ends it at the bottom. He ends it by saying, "Feel like 50." Now I don't know if he's talking about 50 Cent. That's what I believe he's talking about is 50 Cent when he's saying he feels like 50 Cent because 50 Cent at one point was blackballed. 50 Cent came back and made tons of money. He made tons of different shows, made a lot of different money. I think that's what he's talking about. Overall, I do think this song is extremely catchy, but it's still an 8.2 out of 10 for me. Just because it's catchy, but I gotta give Tory Lanez this prop. This song or this single is great, but I do expect more from Tory Lanez, so that's why it's a